Welcome everyone to Judge's Corner. My name is Judge Matthew Sabaugh, and today on Judge's Corner we have a very special guest. I'd like to welcome Ms. Kelly Beidelman. She's from the Oakland-Macomb Legal Aid, and she's the managing attorney there.
Thank you.
Kelly, welcome to Judge's Corner. Thanks for being here. And I think we have a lot of information that we're going to be able to get to the viewers today about legal aid and about the things services that you offer to the community.
Great.
Could you begin with a little introduction? I'm sure a lot of people are asking, what is legal aid?
All right. Legal Aid and Defender is a legal service provider, and we provide free civil legal services to people that live or have court cases in Wayne, Oakland, and Macomb counties. We're funded through the Legal Services Corporation by the United States Congress, and there's legal aids throughout the country. But Legal Aid and Defender, our service area is the Tri-County area of Oakland, Wayne, and Macomb.
How did legal aid get started in this area?
It started back in Detroit in 1909, so we've been around for over 100 years, and we started getting the Legal Services Corporation funding probably about 20 years ago.
I see. Does legal aid have a mission?
Yes, our mission is to provide high-quality legal services to low to moderate income folks in the Tri-County area.
And a lot of people may be asking, how do I know if I qualify for legal aid? Are there any requirements?
Yes, they are. That's a great question. In order to qualify for our services, a person has to be a U.S. citizen or legal resident. Again, we are funded, through our government, and they have to be within the federal poverty guidelines. But we also have other areas of funding. So that's why we say we can assist those that are low to moderate income, especially with our foreclosure project that allows for a higher income level for the person contacting us. And then, as with all attorneys, we have to make sure that we don't have a conflict of interest, meaning we haven't represented or assisted the other side to their dispute, or they haven't been an opposing party in a matter in which we've provided assistance.
And are there priority areas that legal aid has to assist people?
Yes. Anybody can contact us for legal advice. We will provide free legal advice on basically any type of civil legal matter, but the matters in which we provide direct representation, where we go to court and represent individuals, would be in housing, transportation, education, and what we call income maintenance.
Okay, let's go through that list then. Starting with housing, what types of cases would you handle which could affect people's housing?
Housing, it could be anything from a landlord-tenant eviction to an illegal lockout. It might be a foreclosure defense, but anything that keeps our clients housed.
I see. And again, this would be completely free of charge for the client?
Yes.
As long as they qualify for that service?
Yes, that's correct.
And other than housing, you said there's another priority of transportation?
Yes, we don't see too much of that, but it could be anything from a repossession deficiency to a used car repair or the purchase of a used car with some problems. So we'll represent folks in that area because those are what our clients need, obviously. They need housing, they need transportation. And then the third area is education. We want to make sure that the students are completing high school. And if a child is expelled or suspended from school, oftentimes they don't have that opportunity, and then it just repeats the cycle of poverty.
Well, it's very important to keep kids in school and get them out of school and so that they can go on and be successful.
Yes.
There's a fourth area also?
Yes, income maintenance. That's where we kind of lump things together. Anything that would bring income into the household or relieve the debt of the household. So we do debt collection defense. If people are being sued because they weren't able to pay their debt, we'll defend those actions. Social Security is a big one. We assist people in obtaining SSI or SSD, helping them if they're cut off their food stamps or Medicaid. It could be something as simple as drafting a qualified domestic relations order in order to obtain a portion of an ex-spouse's pension. But again, anything that'll relieve the debt in the household or bring in income so that the family could be self-sufficient.
As a district judge here in Warren, every day I tell criminal defendants they have the right to an attorney, even if they could not afford an attorney. Obviously, the Constitution gives them that right if they're charged with a criminal offense where they could go to jail.
Right.
Is there such a right for a civil case where someone is being sued for money damages?
No, unfortunately. There is a movement by the National Legal Aid and Defender Association for civil Gideon, which would give a civil litigant the right to have an attorney, but at this point there isn't. And unfortunately, because of the lack of funding for legal services, we see a reduction in that, and we're just not able to help as many people that would qualify for our services as we would like.
Oftentimes, when you think about a person that's representing themselves in court, they're at a disadvantage. Obviously, they're not attorneys. They don't know the rules of evidence. Do you often find that some of these clients that you see and your attorneys see actually have a good case that they would not have known about if they didn't have access to an attorney?
Yes, oh, all the time. And I think judges probably see it. I know that some judges have told me they see that happen in their courtroom. They know that somebody might have this great defense, but certainly the court can't advance that. And that's why I think it's important that we come in. And again, our program allows people to have access to justice. What kind of a justice system will we have if only the rich could afford attorneys? So we do want to provide that direct representation whenever we can. Now, in some matters, we're not able to provide direct representation, and we will help people represent themselves. And those are things that are outside those priorities that we talked about, for instance, family law. We have a lot of clients that want to modify their child custody, their child support, and we just don't have the resources to directly represent them in those matters. But what we will do is have them come in, help them fill out their forms, give them some guidance, tell them what happens, explain the procedure, and so then they can go to court and represent themselves and understand what the relief is that they're able to get. Sometimes just by providing legal advice to a client will resolve their issue, so they know what's going to happen next, because the law is scary. For instance, with an eviction, if a tenant knows, I have no way I can stay here, I'm going to need to leave, but what happens? When are they going to throw me out? And by understanding what the timeline is, what defenses they may have or other avenues they may do, referring them to somebody that might be able to provide financial assistance, I think it's just very helpful.
So obviously your agency is working with limited resources. Have you developed any other programs to be able to get to more people, essentially to get more people these types of services, or to learn about these services?
Yes, we do. When we lost funding a couple years ago and there was some reduction in staff, we wanted to make sure that we could still provide, maybe not as much in the way of direct representation, but at least get the word out there and let people know about their rights. We developed a series of small claims workshops that we're currently doing. We rotate those each month by county. So one month it's in Wayne, the next month in Macomb, and then the following month in Oakland. The small claims workshop teaches people how to represent themselves in small claims court and how to collect on a money judgment if they win. That's one of the series of workshops. We often do foreclosure workshops where we'll partner with a housing counseling agency so that folks that are facing foreclosure can come in. We can look at their paperwork, see if they have a defense, or if there's any way that we can save their home. And that's why the housing counselor partnering with us is great, because they can help them work on loan modifications. We are going to be doing an expungement clinic soon. Expungement, even though that really is criminal, we are able to help with that. That's the only thing.
I'd like to talk about that more after the break. At this point, we're going to take a brief break, and we'll be right back. Judge's Corner and my special guest, Kelly Beitelman.
You sure you don't want some? It's chamomile. Listen, you are extremely terrifying. Just the scariest undead subhuman thing on TV, and I really mean that. But I am worried that you could give my kids nightmares if they see you, so I'm gonna have to block you. So that's it. Oh, and tell the zombies they're blocked too.
are a million places you'd never consider texting. So why would you do it while driving? Leave risky driving to the professionals. Stop the texts, and together we can stop the wrecks.
Welcome back to Judge's Corner. This is Judge Matthew Sabaugh, and my special guest today is Kelly Beidelman. She is the managing attorney for Macomb Oakland Legal Aid and Defenders. Kelly, welcome back.
Thank you.
One of the things we touched on before the break, and I see this every day with criminal defendants. I tell them, once you have that criminal conviction on your record, that can affect them for the rest of their life. Is there anything available? You mentioned expungement. Is that available to every criminal defendant, and is that something that the Legal Aid and Defender Association could help people with?
Yes, we really want to do expungements of criminal records. You're right, criminal records is a huge barrier, not only to employment, but to housing. And if we can clear somebody's criminal conviction so that they can become productive members of society, we want to be able to do that. In Michigan, in order to expunge a criminal record, you can only have one conviction, and it has to be more than 5 years old. In Michigan, 1 out of 4 people have a criminal conviction, and 1 out of 6 people have a felony conviction. So that's a lot of people that could be in our workforce that are unfortunately prevented from having jobs, because when they get the application and they check the yes box that they have a conviction, oftentimes those applications are discarded. And there's some issues, dealing with employers who do that, but we want to really help the person, again, to have employment, to have housing. And a criminal conviction is a barrier to housing, especially public housing, because we want our public housing units to be safe and crime-free, and sometimes people with criminal records are not allowed admittance into those housing.
And I think it's important for the public to know also that the expungement statute in Michigan, one of the fundamental tenets of it is that the person has rehabilitated themselves. And that's what I see when I see people come before me on those expungement proceedings. They may have something from 20 years ago. It's held them back. I can recall one woman that came and she was applying for a job, and she was trying to get rid of a shoplifting case that she had from when she was essentially a teenager. And she led an exemplary life since then.
Yes.
This was holding her back, and it was rewarding for me as a judge to be able to grant that, because she did meet all the qualifications. But certainly I can imagine some people are just intimidated by the process of getting all that paperwork.
They are.
And that's where your attorneys will actually come in and just lead them through that?
Yes, we actually will provide direct representation on expungements as well, because it is so important to clear that criminal record. And like you said, it is designed for the person that has rehabilitated themselves. They've already served their punishment through the crime that they committed. Enough time has passed to show that they have rehabilitated themselves, and they should be able to find the jobs and the housing that they need. And these convictions are a huge barrier with respect to the convictions when you're underage as a teenager. Our expungement law was just amended to also allow, if you only have one criminal conviction more than 5 years, but you also had a couple of minor offenses before you were an adult, before the age of 21, those can also be expunged.
Now, another thing that's important for people, obviously you said income. Some people are unable to work due to a disability. Do you represent any clients on disability cases?
Yes, we do. We represent clients in both supplemental security income, which is known as SSI, and Social Security disability income, which is SSD. The difference between the two programs is, one, SSD is for those that have a work history, but unfortunately a lot of folks don't have any work history because they've had some debilitating illness or condition that prevents them from seeking or acting any gainful employment. So they need these benefits, and SSI are for those that don't have a work history, and they get a certain amount each month. but they have to show that the medical or physical or mental condition is going to result or will last for 12 months or result in death, and it prevents them again from doing any gainful employment.
What about the area of family law, divorce proceedings, custody proceedings? Do judicial aid attorneys represent clients in that area?
Not too much. Certainly with domestic violence, we will help a victim of domestic violence in getting their divorce or obtaining their child support. But for the most part, the family law is not really one of our priorities, only because it's such a huge area. The custody cases are just very draining with resources, I should clarify, because they take a lot of time. So in those areas we offer pro se representation, which means we help them represent themselves. And we do that with divorces. Although it's not one of our priorities, we'll certainly give advice. But if our client wants a divorce, and it's a simple uncontested divorce, then we have them come into a divorce clinic. We help them fill out their forms. We assist them throughout the entire process. And in some instances, we'll actually prepare the judgment of divorce if they have family, if they have minor children, because those judgments are a little more complicated. But we help them through every step of the way, and we have a 95% success rate with our divorces, because 95% of the people that come to our clinic end up divorced. We don't just give them the forms and say, here, go figure it out. We help them through every step. And I think the judges are pleased with that, because otherwise they would be faced with someone trying to represent themselves that don't know what they're doing. And so we're able to provide that assistance.
Legal aid is no cost legal representation for people that otherwise could not afford an attorney. And I think it's a great benefit to the community. Where does the money come from to pay for all these attorneys and all these services you do?
Well, most of our funding is through the Legal Services Corporation, but we have other pots of funding through our Michigan Foreclosure Prevention Project, United Way, certainly the State Bar of Michigan with the IOLTA funding. So we have various other pots of funding, some foundations, and so we're able to help a more wide variety of clients with respect to income, because the income through our government funding, income guidelines I should say, are pretty low. Our clients do have to come poor. So it's, you know, it's always a challenge to be looking for that funding. Certainly it's needed. For every attorney in the United States, there's 300 clients, potential clients. For every legal aid attorney, there's 7,000. So we need a lot more legal aid attorneys so that more people can have access to our justice system.
Wow, that's a huge demand.
Yes.
Now, we talked a lot about the different services that your attorneys do provide. What types of cases would you not be able to take?
Any fee-generating cases. Again, we're not funded to go out and sue for millions of dollars, and that's where private attorneys make their living. So if it's a personal injury case, a medical malpractice case, anything where you're suing for money, if you own a business, we're obviously not going to help you with your business legal matters. We don't do any criminal law except for the expungement. We're prevented from doing anything criminal. So those are some of the things that we don't assist with, and we would give a referral, though, to the private bar.
If someone out there is interested in learning more about legal aid, about possibly meeting with an attorney, what type of outreach do you have?
We encourage clients to contact us initially through our toll-free number. We have an whole intake unit that answers our phones. We do get hundreds of phone calls a day, and not all of them get through because we just can't serve the number out there that needs service. But they can initially call us at our 800 number, which is 1-877-964-4700. They can also look at our website, which we list our outreaches and our hours, our different seminars that we're going to have, different clinics. And our website is www.laclosure, www.ladadetroit.org. And of course, the LADA stands for Legal Aid and Defender Association. And so for those of folks that can't get through by telephone, we also want to have other avenues. And next year, we're looking at expanding and having online intake. So those people that have computers and are able to access them can open a file with us online. Right now it's by phone. And then we also offer other avenues for people to stop in and see an attorney, either walking into our Macomb County office during select days and hours. And every third Friday of every month, we are at the Hope Center in Fraser, so people can come in, open a file, and meet with one of our attorneys that morning.
So it really is, it's all about access to justice.
Yes.
And getting it to people that otherwise may have not have had that opportunity.
Yes.
Are there people that you have to turn away?
Unfortunately, there are, if they're over income or over asset, if there's a conflict of interest. You know, unfortunately, those we have to turn away. But we do try and qualify anybody that seeks services. And if we're not able to help, we always have a referral available where they can get the help that they need, hopefully.
Let me ask you this on a personal note. How long have you been an attorney?
23 years.
And obviously, you're a great attorney. You could go out there and probably make a really good living on the private sector. Tell me, because I think it's important for people to understand this job for you. What does it mean for you?
I have the passion for this job because I feel, I don't know, I feel fulfilled. People appreciate what I do. You know, if you represent Sears or JCPenney, nobody cares if you win or lose. But when you're representing somebody that needs access to justice, that they have a matter that affects their life, you know, and we're dealing with the poor, you get such satisfaction from it. And even the simplest thing that I do for a client is they're so appreciative. And a lot of it's just listening. You know, a lot of people don't get to talk to people about their problems. So a lot of our job is counseling. But I really get a lot of satisfaction from this job, and it's just wonderful.
It's really one of the foundations of the legal profession also. When you think about the Bar Association, the State Bar Association, they actually dedicate funds towards these types of services because the idea is that everyone should have access to justice. I think that's important. I'm very grateful to have you here to discuss it. I know that I've learned a lot. I hope the viewers have learned a lot. And I hope that more people are served now that they've been informed. And thank you, everyone, once again. That has been another edition of Judge's Corner. My name is Judge Matthew Sabah.